Picture this. You're driving down PCH, the sun is setting, the waves are crashing, there's a nice breeze blowing. So obviously you're gonna reach for your phone and take a Snapchat to send to all of your best friends. You might even save the picture and send it to your mom to remind her how beautiful it is in Malibu and to thank her for sending you to school here instead of somewhere else. And while your phone's open, you're gonna check your Instagram and see how many likes your most recent beach picture has. Update, it only has one more than the last time you checked it. You also see a Facebook message from one of your friends asking about the best time for brunch on Saturday, so you respond to that really quickly, and then you see an email from your professor with a list of all the things you have to study for your test the next day. In this hypothetical situation that's all too real in all of our lives, you had a choice to make, and you chose the wrong one. We're so connected to the world through our phones, but if we're going to be honest, how much of the communication that goes on every day is necessary and how much is just completely superfluous? I'm going to talk to you guys today about the prevalence of the issue of texting and driving, how it can and does affect lives, and what you guys can do to fix this. The new Oxford American Dictionary defines distracted driving as the practice of driving a motor vehicle while engaged in another activity, typically one that involves the use of a mobile phone or other electronic device. In his article entitled The 25 Scariest Texting and Driving Statistics, Luke Amin talks about how every time you look down at your phone to text, the driver is distracted for 5 seconds. In this 5-second window, you're 23 times more likely to crash the car. And because the average speed of a car is 55 miles per hour, in those 5 seconds, you travel about the distance of a football field, and that whole time you're distracted. 94% of teenagers say that they understand and acknowledge the adverse effects of texting and driving, but 35% claim that they do it anyway, and in reality this number is probably a lot higher. 25% of those say that they respond to at least one text every single time they drive. 11 teenagers die every single day because of texting and driving. All of the people that have died today have a family, a story, and they had a future ahead of them, which was cut too short because of someone else's mistake or their own. I recently watched a video on YouTube from a channel called Summer Break, and basically there are 6 kids that they interviewed, and the person behind the camera asked them, what are your reasons for texting and driving? So like most of you would probably answer, they listed Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, texting. And after a lot of looking at each other and giggling and saying, oh, I know I shouldn't do this, but I do it anyway, a woman walks into the room. Her name is JC, and she talks about what happened on the night of her college graduation. Basically, there was a man texting in the lane next to them. He swerved to miss another car and caused an 18-wheeler truck to barrel into her family's car, killing her parents on impact and paralyzing half of her body. None of the kids are smiling anymore, as many of them begin to sob because they realize the impact that their actions have on everyone else's lives. The Governor's Highway Safety Association states that that cell phone use is banned, including wireless use, for all drivers that are novice drivers, which is anyone under 18, and texting is banned for everyone in California. However, these laws are not always enforced, as it's really difficult for police officers to identify when people are texting and driving. The National Phone Survey on Distracted Driving Attitudes and Behaviors in 2010 states that 53% of people say they would never use their phone if there were bad weather. However, only 5% of people say they would never use their phone if they see a police officer. This means 95% of people are completely unaffected in their phone usage when they see a police officer. So obviously something with their laws is not working. In Florida, in 2015, 3 new bills were passed, which Sean Rossman talks about in his article in the Tallahassee Democrat. These made texting and driving a primary offense, which basically means that a police officer could pull you over for texting and driving, and in 6 states it's still actually only a secondary offense, which means they can't pull you over unless you're doing something else like speeding or running a red light. So this is also problematic because it's difficult for the law enforcement to actually enforce stricter laws. If you Google texting and driving petitions, you can find hundreds of petitions with varying levels of significance online. This one on change.com was published about 9 months ago by Julia Bridges. And this is specifically aimed at Texas, which is one of the states that has the least strict texting and driving laws. So they are trying to ban the use of handheld devices, which currently is not banned, and it should be. But they're making a petition to make this heard in the state government. This is a really easy way to show that you are against texting and driving and to make a stand against it. And they currently need about 729 more signatures. This picture is a little bit old, so there have been people signing it recently. It's still currently being updated out of 25,000. So that's pretty impressive that they're almost there, and that's a really easy way for you guys to take a stand against this. So while we know that the passage of laws is important, it's also really easy to reduce the prevalence of this by starting with yourself. So as Michael Jackson said, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. In his article on the Verizon Wireless website, The Best Apps Block Texting and Driving, Evan Shamoon talks about 10 apps that can download to your phone and keep you accountable for not texting while driving. So the first example of one of these is Safe Drive. This is a 99-cent app that actually provides you with incentives for not texting while you drive. So you open the app when you get in the car, and it records the amount you travel, the distance, and the speed, and uses that to calculate a certain amount of points, which you can actually use to get rewards and discounts at participating stores, which is really cool. And this app also allows you to use the music and Maps app while you're driving, because they kind of know that you probably will need those while driving too. It's unrealistic to completely not use your phone at all. But if you do text, then all of your points are cleared for that journey and you have to start again. Another app, this one is free, is AT&T Drive Mode. And this one has settings where you can silence incoming texts and calls, and you can also, it provides you with easy one-touch access to certain apps, like maps and music that you might need to use while driving, so you can just use them on the app instead of having to scroll through all of the things on your phone. As well as there's a setting where you can provide auto-response text messages to things you receive to let people know that you're driving and you'll respond when you are done. In her June 2014 article, Melissa Healy talks about how texting and driving is a lot more rampant now than it was in the past. And she talks about how about 41% of teenagers say that they've sent a text while driving in the past 10 days. So we know that this is an issue if almost half of the teenage population is doing this every single time they drive. And we've talked about the testimonies of reasons not to text and drive, as well as a lot of numbers and statistics. And I've told you the things that you can do today to change this, as well as just a change in your attitude now that you know now that you can fully understand what the effects of texting and driving are. So I know it's tempting to want to look down at your phone for like the 43rd time in the past 2 minutes to check and see if your crush has finally texted you back. But if we're going to be honest, no text is that important that it can't wait 5 or 10 minutes until you're finished driving, if it means that everyone gets out of the car alive at the end of the journey. So the choice is yours. Continue to use your phone and risk everything, or put your phone away and show respect for your life and the lives of others.